Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Bream Fishing Project. It is now 2025. Thanks for tuning in. In this episode, we are going to be reviewing a new competition. So starting this year in 2025, there will be the New South Wales Tournament Series. So it's a brand new teams-based event, pretty much around, I guess, southern New South Wales. But anyway, I've taken a bit of time out just before Christmas to run through with the tournament director, have a bit of a chat about what he's trying to achieve and what's going to be on offer. So what I might do is roll the intros and then we'll get into it. Here we go.
Welcome to the Bream Fishing Project. This is where you need to be every Tuesday to find out all the latest tips and tricks to help you target bream on lures. You'll get to hear from some of Australia's elite bream competition anglers and see how they were able to achieve their results in competitions around the country. Now, here is your host, the 2019 Hobie Kayak Fishing World Champion, Andrew Deeth.
All right. So look, as we move into 2025, I hope you've got all your fishing goals sorted and your life goals and all that sort of stuff underway. As this one comes out, I think it's going to be maybe the 6th of January. So if you haven't done that, it's not too late. Get down and set out some goals and plans and let's try and get some stuff done and maybe some stuff done together. For those of you who are part of the collective, this last challenge or focus has been a really good one for me. I've learned a few things and I can't wait to share that in the upcoming week or so. And also, for those of you who are not aware, as part of the collective for this particular month, champion angler Jason Meach has offered up 2 days of his time to go out with someone who is part of the collective based on a random draw basis, take them out for 2 days and try and do everything he can to impart some knowledge and try and help you to catch bream better, I guess. I think that's a really generous offer, so appreciate Jason for that. If you're interested in it, as this comes out, I expect we'll be doing it within the next day or two. We'll be doing the draw, so probably a week at the maximum. So jump over to brimfishingproject.supercast.com. All right, so let's get straight into the interview I did with Grant. Here it is. Okay, everybody. So with me on the line, I have the new tournament director, and we're going to go into a whole lot of details. So with me on the line, I have Grant Oliver, mate. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, mate. It's great to be back again.
Mate, have you been called tournament director before?
Never. It's a new concept that I'm sort of dabbling in, but I'm keen to give it a run, and I think it'll work. I just think our series is definitely going to work. So
very nice, very nice. All right, so mate, what we've got to do, I've done the little intros and stuff for this, but I've not given anything away. So what I want to do is get into, let's start with, you're about to open up a new New South Wales-based series. Let's start with the name.
So it's called the New South Wales Tournament Series, but for season 1, it's going to be the Atomic Tournament Series. So Atomic have jumped on board and super stoked. Straight away I got a phone call and I asked for a couple of prize packs and they jumped on board straight away to be naming sponsors. I was quite surprised, to be honest, that I would get so much support straight out of the box. So much faith in me out of nowhere.
Who knew, mate? Who knew?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there you go, mate. Well, I mean, it's a great thing. It's good to have a sponsor on board straight away. But I think for the New South Wales anglers, for a couple of years, we've been missing a series, or a couple of ones disappeared. So I think there's definitely a hole there to be filled.
Yeah, I just feel that we're going to run a really professional series that's price pointed well for the anglers that are really serious about it, but it's not going to break your bank at the end of the day and you're not going to miss any days of work. I think that's a really key part of it as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's get into the nuts and bolts of it. So you're proposing a team series based in New South Wales. So maybe give us an outline of what you're trying to achieve just on the basic format.
It's going to be like a hybrid between, I suppose, a Berkeley Super Series and a Southern Bream Series. What we differ compared to the current team series that are Sydney-based, I suppose, I'm going to offer 2-day events, but they're all going to be on weekends. So if you want to pre-fish those 2-day events, great. If you just want to turn up on Saturday morning and have a red-hot go at it, that's great too. So I'm going to have 2-day events. I'm going to have 2 of those, and I'm going to have 4 one-day events thrown in there as well.
Right. Okay, awesome. And when you say a pre-fish, so I guess we're getting into the nuts and bolts of it, but pre-fish ban, so you won't be able to fish for a period of time leading up to the Saturday?
Yeah, I have spoken to sponsors and sponsor feedback and sort of angler feedback. I just feel like a week pre-fish ban. It's just something different. Normally it's 2 Sundays midnight, from midnight 2 Sundays earlier. So I'm going to run it from midnight 1 Sunday earlier. So it gives the system a week to rest.
Yeah.
And you know yourself, fish can move in a day, let alone a week. So you'll definitely sort of key in on a few things, but it's still anyone's game a week going out into a tournament, that's for sure.
That's right. That's right. And like some of the tournaments that are going at the moment, there won't be a Friday pre-fish. So you don't have to take a day off work to go and pre-fish.
Yeah, it's not a compulsory thing either for our 2-day events. But you can pre-fish those 1-day events on the Saturday. And I think that's why we're sort of not doing all 2-day events. And I also think that by throwing in a couple of 2-day events, it makes it a more sort of top tier. It attracts those top tier anglers, which is what we want to get, as well as our sort of guys that just want to go and have a good weekend as well. So we just want that good mix of anglers to come through and give these events a red hot go.
Fair enough. All right. Well, let's just talk a couple of basics. So it's a team series. Tell me about the teams, like 2 people, 3 people. How's that going to work?
So it'll be, so on your entry form, you'll nominate yourself and 2 other anglers. If those anglers aren't available to fish, you can fish the event by yourself, but obviously it's a lot more fun fishing it with a mate or a son or whoever you would like to fish with. You can fish with your son, that's fine. Just going into who can compete. So we're happy for kids to come along as well and compete, but they will be. The difference is that child or younger adult will be the actual second angler. So you can only have 2 on the boat. So a maximum of 2, but you can fish it by yourself.
Yeah. And I think from our discussions earlier, if you've got a minor on board, you must be the parent or guardian.
Yeah, I put that in there, and that's one of my main rules. I've got 2 young sons, and I reckon you just wouldn't feel at ease with your son out on one of those sort of bass boats if it wasn't you controlling it. And you never really, you're the only one that looks after your kids the best. So I just feel that if there's a parent there or a guardian, it's going to be the safest format to run these events.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. And the 1 day and 2 days, tell us about fish limits and fish sizes.
Yeah, so our 1-day events are going to be sort of this season. Obviously, I just want to make sure I can get as many people to fish these events as possible. We all know that I have released the dates on that Facebook page, and I have picked the fan favourites, I suppose you call it, for season 1. So yeah, our 1-day events are going to be sort of that hour and a half drive from Sydney. Obviously, we've got Botany, Sydney Harbour, Lake Mac, and then we've got the Hawkesbury. So there are 1-day events. It's going to be a 5-fish limit, and it's going to be a 26 tip.
Yeah. So basically 1 centimetre above the state legal limit.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's sort of except for those Vic rounds where it's 29 to the tip, but in New South across other various tournaments, 26 to the tip is sort of the minimum that we require.
Yeah. And also at this point, it's just going to be a traditional weight-based tournament, weighing at the end of the day.
Yeah, it'll be a catch, weigh, release. Fish have to swim away. We will have an angler measuring fish at the bump tubs before they come on stage and weigh their fish. It's going to be extreme. We're going to have someone doing photography. We're going to have someone taking scores. There's going to be 3 or 4 of us kicking around when the weigh-in takes place to make sure we get it right in every aspect.
Perfect. All right. So just to recap, you've got a 2-person teams event. You have to nominate 3 anglers at the start of the year. They're the only people that can fish on your team throughout the calendar year. And then a weigh-in based tournament over 1 and 2 days, depending on the comp.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah. We're not trying to sort of reinvent the wheel. We're just trying to run a good quality comp that people enjoy doing. So
fair enough. Well, let's get into the venues. Let's start with the rounds. And give us a bit of an idea of why you've picked the locations you have and why you've picked the dates, I guess.
Yeah, so This season was, to be honest, it's more of just trying to find a date than pick a date that I wanted to pick. I would love to have had an event in March. So our first event, it's actually going to be the first tournament series of the year. It's going to be in the 9th of February, and it's going to be in the Hawkesbury. So there's going to be a summer bite in the Hawkesbury where I feel it can be won from anywhere.
Yeah.
Whether it be rock walls, bridges, on those flats there, washes, I feel racks, there's so many possibilities, so many ways you can fish the Hawkesbury. And I feel in February when it's still summer, you can have just as good a bite fishing skinny water with a surface lure as you can fishing washes. So, yeah, I just feel that that's the main reason why I picked that date. And, yeah, so that'll be our round one venue on the 9th of February.
Right. And is that the traditional launching place of, can't remember, is it Lions Park up there?
It's called Roland Reserve. We're hoping so. We're still pending council approval. I've got approval for round 2 and 3 already.
Yep.
So there are a couple of other spots that I have proposed as well for the Hawkesbury event. So fingers crossed we leave from Roland Reserve, which is the dog park, where I suppose the only negative is you have to pay for parking.
Mm-hmm.
I also have applied to a different council, the Hawkesbury being so big. You can actually apply to 3 different councils and get approval for 3 different boat ramps. So the other place is obviously upriver at Brooklyn.
Yep.
There's a little park up there and there's a nice boat ramp there and it is free. So it doesn't really suit us logistically to run it there and it's harder for accommodation and we do get that. But if we have to go through a different council to get this first event off the line, it may be run out of there, but we're 90% sure it'll be at the dog park at Roland Reserve there.
Perfect. Once those things come to light, once you get approval, and how are people going to find the information? I don't think we've talked about that.
Yeah, so we've got a Facebook page, which is called New South Wales Tournament Series. It is live. I probably won't update it. I probably will update it with our sponsor info over the next couple of days, but we'll get through Chrissy, let the dust settle, and I'm hoping to have approval done by no later than a month before the event. So say by the 9th of January, I'm hoping to open round 1 entries from the 9th of January onwards.
Perfect. How are you going to do the start order?
So in our single day events, our start order will be on entries received into the account. So it doesn't matter if you get your entry form in first or last. Basically, once the money hits the account with your reference, your team name as a reference, that will be the start. So yeah, we're trying to do an online payment system, which we're using Stripe through our website page. So the options were Stripe or PayPal. We just went with Stripe this time as the fees were a little bit cheaper for both of us. So we're happy to wear the fees if we run it through Stripe, but if we went through PayPal, we'd have to consider passing those fees on. But we find Stripe to be better.
Yeah. And following on from that, if it's a 2-day event, how's the starting order on day 2?
So day 2 will be off where you finish on day 1. So if you weigh 3.5 kilos on day 1 and you're in 5th place, after day 1, you will leave 5th in the queue.
Perfect. All right. Moving on to round 2, mate. Where are we off to?
Round 2 is in Botany Bay. It's in April though. So our round 2, so it will be, and back to sort of dates again. So by the time I've looked at all the calendars and everyone else has released dates before me pending one tournament series, I had about 10 dates left, in all honesty, through the whole year. No one wants to fish in August.
Yep. Good.
Yeah. So from sort of from February to September, I had literally 10 days.
Yeah, right.
Now, it's going to be Botany Bay, and it's going to be on the 13th of April, which is the first weekend of the holidays, basically because the only other date that was left was the 20th of April, which I think is Easter Sunday.
Right, okay.
So basically that's the only date in April that we could find.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And the launch spotter, are you out of Sans Souci there, out of the sailing club? Or?
Yeah, so our launch spot will be called, I'm pretty sure it's called Dobell Park, which is just north of Sandringham Beach, where the other series have been run off that beach there. So obviously you cross that highway bridge, there's Sandringham Beach on your left, just up around the corner. There's a park there where we can set up gazebos. So the reason why we couldn't do it on the beach is because council don't allow marquees and gazebos set up on the beach.
Right.
So judging on the walk that you'll need, the drop-off is a lot deeper coming into that park, so you won't have the issue of tide running in and out like you do on the beach. But you may have to, I suppose, compared to the other, if you ever fished an East Coast Bream series, so you probably have to walk that same distance as what you did when you fished Berkeley Super Series when it used to be around near the oil tanker jetty around the Kernel there. So that's probably the one thing that you may have to do is just walk your fish that 30 metres up into the park, and it's called Depina Reserve. So that's where it's going to be held at.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Fishing.com.au, your one-stop bream lure and tackle shop. Pick up the latest bream tackle, including Muscle Vibes, Cranker Crabs, OSP Bent Minnows, Z-Man Plastics, Eco Gear Lures, and Daiwa Rods, Reels, and Tackle. Same-day shipping. Shop where the world champion, the Australian champion, and the current ABT champion shops. Fishing.com.au. Online or in-store at shop 18/29 Kiora Road, Miranda. All right. So like I've been talking about for a couple of weeks, the cicada bite has been just phenomenal. And I would stress that this only comes around every couple of years you get a really good bite. Like most years you'll be able to get a couple on cicadas. This year is off the Richter. So there's a few ones that I think you should look at, particularly the Tiemco soft shell. They've got the new model out now, which is super tough, but it still has that soft, I guess, the soft shell, and it lands really beautifully. Definitely worth a look. And then the Jackal Size and Susan, I've used that a few times, lost a couple to fish. I reckon they're a really good lure too. They seem to swim really consistently, which is awesome. And the last one in terms of cicadas is the Chase Baits new one. A cicada 43 mil, under $20. Definitely worth a shot. I'd definitely give that a look. And one last thing before we move off fishing.com.au is the Cranker Crabs in the new colour. So it's olive UV. It's got orange belly, orange claws, and like I said in the previous show, that in my local area, when the tide goes out and you can see the crabs walking around on the bank, a lot of them have got orange or white claws. So I reckon this is going to be a really good colour, at least locally. Anyway, fishing.com.au. All right. So then let me just have a look. When we move on to round 3, mate, you're down towards your local, mate, down at St. George's Basin. Tell us when that is.
Yeah, so the basin, I'm pretty sure the basin's going to be, if I can just get my tournament calendar up, because I've sent it off. Did I send it to you?
I'll tell you. It's the 10th and 11th of May.
Yeah, I've got 5 different things open here. So, yeah, 10th and 11th of May in the basin. It's our first 2-day event of the year. It's going to be good. It's going to be good because fish aren't going to be in a set pattern. The fish are going to be sort of moving around. They're going to be sort of getting into that sort of deeper phase where you may be able to catch them on blades, but they could also just as easily be up on a flat in a foot of water eating crankbaits. So I think it's going to come down to angler skill more than sort of knowing the waterway. I feel that the person that finds those fish, whoever it be, will win it. I don't think there's going to be a spot like where a gun local is going to go out and know exactly where the fish are.
Yeah. I mean, my experience of the basin is if you're good at fishing shallows, you'll probably find them in the shallows. If you're good at fishing deep, you'll probably find them in the deep. And that's, yeah. So I'd say go and fish to your strengths.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a funny old place, the basin. Like, you can go along an edge bank there and you can be fishing like coming into winter and you can catch them real shallow, but you might catch like 600 gram fish and you go, oh, sweet, like, you know, I've got a 3 kilo bag, but just off the drop or just in 3 meters of water, people have been catching like 800 gram fish, you know? So it can lure you into like a false sense of security, the basin, and then you can get stuck in that pattern waiting for those bigger fish that never really turn up.
Yeah, exactly. And I could be wrong on this, but the biggest fish caught in New South Wales in a tournament, I think, was caught on the basin. It was like 2.5 kilos back in a Southern Bream grand final.
Yes. I was in third place going into that, and I finished in fourth because he caught him on a gulp shrimp up somewhere, and he caught 3 giants. Like, it wasn't just one. He had a shocking day one in the Shoalhaven River, and then he brained him in day 2 in the basin there. So
there you go.
yeah, it was a cracking bag. I remember it.
Oh, there you go. All right. So once we head off from the basin, where are we off to?
Lake Mac. So Lake Mac is going to be a June bite. It just fishes well. Like in that wintertime bite, you can sort of figure him out fairly well up there by running and gunning on a few spots. But you've also got those big sort of electrical stations there pumping out heaps of hot water. And I think Cromo had we were there last year for the ABT, and Cromo was catching them on a surface lure in the 3rd week of June or whenever it was, off the surface, out where I don't know where he was, but like to do that in winter is just absurd. Like, that's something that you just wouldn't do anywhere else, but Lake Mac, you can do it. So pretty cool place to be.
Exactly. Great fishery. Well, have you got a launch place from there, or you're not up to that yet?
Yeah, I do have a launch place for there, and it is going to be basically opposite. So where everyone launches their boats, because it normally gets run at Wangi Point near the caravan park there, but the boat ramp's not very good. So where everyone launches their boat in Lake Macquarie near the RSL Club, which is, what's that called? It's called the Kent Place Boat Ramp. We're going to be directly opposite that, and it's called Dobell Park. So that's where I got Dobell Park from. So we're going to run that from there. And yeah, there's boat ramps on either side, and it's just a really nice place to have a weigh in. It's right on the water there, and there's plenty of parking. So anyone that's fished the Lake Mac event before, everyone parks in that sort of Kent Place sort of cul-de-sac, because it sort of overflows that Kent Place sort of boat ramp. So we're going to run it in that park just there. There's plenty of room where you can just bring your boat right up to the shore. It's a nice sandy edge there. So it'll be a really good place.
Very good. Very good. All right. Then moving on to round 5, you're going to one of my favourite places. So in the 12th and 13th of July, you headed up to Foster, mate, to tangle with some big bream.
Yeah, so I spoke to a couple of guys about it when I was putting this calendar together, and I said, I'm thinking Foster in September and Sydney Harbour in October. And they were like, why not a July Foster? And I sort of toyed with it. And I thought, oh, yeah. We're just hoping for a pre-spawn bite in Foster in July, where those sort of bigger fish are starting to school up on the walls and the racks. And I reckon there's going to be some really big bags caught out of there where these fish are just still feeding before they spawn, and that they should all be starting to move to sort of the mouth of that river system. So, we're hoping for it's going to be like, it is wintertime, but I think we're going to catch a lot of quality fish that weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's good. And like I said, Foster's one of my favourite places, and it is a place where, you have good years and bad years in terms of comps, and, fingers crossed it'll be a good one.
Yeah, I am really confident going into the Hobie event up at Foster, and I hate going into a tournament feeling confident because it normally bites you in the arse in a big way. I got up there and nothing worked, and I just had a shocking tournament. I was just too overconfident and made the wrong decisions, and it was a tough bite for me personally, but other people smashed it. So
100%. Oh, there you go. All right, moving forward from Foster, mate, where are we off to?
So that's our 5th event of the year. Our last event is going to be in Sydney Harbour, and I have got this in a September event. We're going to leave from Hen and Chicken Bay, which is in Canada Bay there. It's the same old spot that we had for the Berkeley Super Series. The negative is you've got to pay for your parking, but there are other boat ramps that I will list on the website that you can launch from.
Yeah.
But it's got everything that we want there to be able to run a successful event.
That's right. And a single day event, and it looks like you got it penciled in for the 14th of September.
Yeah, 14th of September, that's right. Yeah, so, the parking's a bit of a pain, $23 a day. If you pre-fish it, you're spending $40 on parking, but I have listed a few other boat ramps there that are free. When the website drops, you'll see the location of those.
Yeah, and my experience is a lot of people in the boats will travel from other boat ramps, and like you said, it'll be just fine.
Yeah, exactly. We do have an issue with the boom gates opening. That's normally run in like an April, and sometimes it runs when like daylight savings changes, and then everything gets thrown out because instead of the boom gates open at 6, they open at 7, and it just vice versa, and it just makes it really, really hard. So September's good. Yeah, so 14th of September, Sydney Harbour, last round of the year.
Perfect. All right. In terms of the grand final, first of all, do you have a planned qualification for that?
It's pending angler entry. If we get a lot of anglers, we're going to cap it for sure. So if we're getting 70, 80 boats to Botany Bay and then Hawkesbury River or vice versa, and by the end of the season, we've got 130 anglers that have participated across the 7 events or the 6 events, yeah, we will cap it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just don't know what that number is yet. So there are positives to fishing the whole series. So the grand final format that I'm proposing, and this will be a good one, it's never been done before, I'm proposing a 4-day grand final set over 2 separate weekends that may be 3 or 4 weeks apart.
Yeah.
So my first grand final date will be in Botany Bay, and it's going to be at least a 2-day event. So we're definitely going to be having 2 days in Botany Bay pending angler feedback. So if I get a lot of feedback that says, a 4-day event we're not really happy with, we will look at that and we'll speak to our sponsors, and it may only be a 2-day sort of grand final. Now, if that's the case, I will put a cap on it. But if everyone's happy with a 4-day final, which I'm hoping everyone is, obviously we all have jobs and we all have families and we all have everything like that going on. So the grand final in Botany Bay, we're looking at the 25th and the 26th of October. So, yeah, it will be a 2-day final. It's going to be just like our other 2-day events. But I want to do something different. So our angling team of the year basically makes it to day 3 of our grand final no matter what. So if there's sort of 60 or 70 boats and we all commit to that 4-day grand final, there's not going to be a boat cut for day 1 and day 2. So if 60 boats pay their money and want to fish in the grand final, then 60 boats will go. But if you're a round winner or an angler of the year, team's angler of the year, you will automatically get to day 3.
Yep.
So what that means is if, for instance, and the reason I'm saying you'll automatically get to day 3 is because when we get to day 3, there will be a cut line. So day 3, the cut line will be the top 40, and if anglers that won the rounds or the team of the year are outside of that, then it will go to 41, 42. So there could be up to 46 teams fishing on day 3, and then that'll be cut to 20 on day 4. Now, I'm obviously going to this is sort of pending feedback, so I suppose whenever day this gets released, if you don't like that, we'll speak about it at round 1 and we'll get everyone's feedback. But I just feel that it is ambitious and it's never been done before, but it's going to be 3 or 4 weekends apart. So our second date is going to be in November. So it's not like it's consecutive weekends, and it's not like you need a Thursday and a Friday and a Monday off and then a Thursday to pre-fish. It's not like that. We have in mind you guys that need to everyone needs to work. I need to work. We want to run a tournament series where you can work and enjoy your fishing at the same time. So, yeah, it's going to be at least a 2-day event. If it is only a 2-day event, mate, it's going to be capped, and our round winners and our team of the year will start first on day 1. If it's a 4-day event, it'll be anyone can fit. It'll probably be capped, but a lot higher. A lot more entrants will be allowed to fish. And then sort of day 1 and day 2, it'll be cut down to 46, as maximum of 46. And our round winners and our angler of the year team will automatically make it to day 3. So no matter how bad they fish on day 1 and day 2, if you've fished well, we feel that you should make it into day 3 of our grand final.
All right. If you're in the market for a new fishing kayak or looking to make some upgrades to your existing kayak, or possibly looking at kayak fishing tournaments, then HWS is the place to go. They have a full range of Hobie kayaks and stock the latest kayak accessories. and are really dialed in when it comes to the best kayak fishing setup for the casual fisher and the tournament angler. hws.com.au, online or in-store at shop 3/638 Pacific Highway, Belmont. James offers free delivery on Hobie kayaks across all Greater Sydney, Central Coast and Hunter. Now, to my knowledge, James is still running the special where if you buy, it did start with the passports, which are still under 2K. If you buy any kayak from his store, he's going to give you a stand-up paddleboard or inflatable to go with that, which I think is a great offer. So if you take the passport, you get a kayak for under 2K and you get a stand-up paddleboard to go with it. So another person go down and enjoy the fun on the water. So definitely look into that, hws.com.au. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be an interesting dynamic because it means if you fish day 1 and day 2 and you go okay, then you've got a couple of weeks to potentially go and pre-fish the next spot, or at least a week to go down there and pre-fish and then come back a week or so later and then fish the comp.
Yeah, so we're proposing day 3 and day 4 at the basin, and we're just going to run some pretty cool things down there as well. So there's going to be a dinner on the Friday night. We're hoping to engage with sponsors to get a few of those guys along to the dinner. We're going to have trophies. It's going to be a paid dinner, so it'll probably be in Sussex Inlet somewhere, and there'll be trophies and prizes and just a briefing. We're going to run our briefing for day 3 and day 4 at that dinner as well. So yeah, that's one of our other differences to these other sort of teams tournament series as well. We sort of want to engage with our anglers a lot more with things like dinners and Friday afternoon briefings on our 2-day events and things like that, rather than just turn up tournament day, fish and go home.
Fair enough. Well, mate, it sounds like a nice new initiative. I like the idea of potentially a split final, but I guess like you said, we'll put it out to the anglers and see what the consensus is.
Yeah, exactly.
And run with that.
Yeah, we'll just see how they go, how we all go going forward once this lands, and we'll see what they're have a bit of a think over the next month and get their feedback on it at round 1.
Absolutely. All right. So, in terms of people contacting you, if they've got any questions, is the Facebook page going to be the place to start?
Yeah. So if you've got my number personally and you know me, just ring me. If you want to blast me over that 4-day tournament, I'm open to it. So yeah, I'm definitely approachable. Send my personal Facebook page a message. Send the New South Wales tournament page a message. Let me know your feedback. I'll be glad to hear it. I feel that this is sort of if we want to get serious about our teams fishing and we want to have a really competitive series that catches sponsors and the eyes of everyone that's fishing, I feel that this is the right way to go about it rather than single day finals and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I assume you want to talk about it. Let's talk about entry fees and payouts and that sort of stuff. What's happening there?
Yeah, so it's going to be it's a 60% payout system. So if I get 50 boats enter, our entry fee is going to be $275. So to enter a Berkeley Super Series 3 or 4 years ago when it was running, it was $250. I'm $275. So yeah, $275. If 50 anglers compete, there's $13,750. So 60% of that will be payback. It'll be a purse of about just over $8,000 on a 50 boat field, and first place is going to get just a bit over $3,700. So a pretty good payday for first place.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So obviously the rest goes into council approval and fuel and all those other types of things. Insurances, I was surprised at the insurance price of it. So once you all do the sums, it's definitely not something that I could do as a sole sort of job. It's definitely my second job, and I'm doing it because I love it. So yeah, first place will be $3,700, and then we're going to see second place will be $2,000, third will be $1,200, and we're going to pay down to fifth. So fifth place on a 50 boat field, we'll still see around that $400 mark.
Yeah, right. So cover your expenses sort of thing, which is nice.
Definitely. And then from 6th to 10th, you'll get a prize pack. If we get more than 59 boats, so if we get 60 boats, I'll pay down to 6th.
Yep.
If we get 70, I'll pay down to 7th, but you'll also get a prize pack as well. So the 6th place and the 7th place will just you'll probably get a $250 check plus a prize pack as well. So the more the merrier, and obviously that's going to bump up those sort of higher end placings as well. First and second with that number of boats looks really, really good. That's for sure.
Absolutely. All right. So we've got, hopefully we'll see entries open for the first round in the Hawkesbury, hopefully early to mid or early to late January.
Yeah, I want to make, about a month before, mate. So 9th of Feb's our start date. We want to have them open by the 9th of Jan.
Yeah, the 9th of Jan. And like you said before, starting positions will be based off entries hitting the bank account.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Sounds like a pretty great initiative. Before we head off, did you want to just run through any sponsors you want to speak of at the moment?
Yeah, so for Atomic to come on board like that, we really appreciate it. They're going to be sending me like 30 prize packs out over the next few weeks. So they're going to sponsor the whole series, which is really great. They're happy to give prize packs out from 6th to 10th at every event, which we couldn't be more happy about. We're having a big Bream prize as well, so you'll get a pair of Tonic Eyewear Sunnies. So, mate, they've got some great stuff. I got the Sunnies today. It's $2,000 worth of Sunnies that turned up today in my thing. They're about $300 retail each.
Nice.
Fully glass lenses. You can't scratch them. And I had a look at one of these pairs today, and mate, they were top quality Sunnies, that's for sure. So I really appreciate them coming on board. They're going to be the big Bream awards. So you're going to get a $300 pair of Sunnies, but if that fish is over a kilo, you're also going to get what we're having is the fishing.com.au kegger for cash. So any fish that's caught that's over a kilo will get a $50 voucher to use in Adam's online store.
Nice.
So the big Bream's going to be you'd expect it to be over a kilo every time. So that the big Bream winner is going to get $350 worth of gear or worth of stuff.
Yeah, right. So is that, and just to clarify that, is that limited to one per angler, or if you get 3 keggers, you're getting 3 men?
So it is limited to one per angler.
Perfect.
So
good to clarify that early.
Yeah. So the first thing Adam asked me is, are you going to Gippsland Lakes? And I said, no, I'm not. So
Oh, fair enough. No, Adam, he's a good guy. He loves giving away money. All good.
Great guy, that's for sure. So I rang him over the phone, didn't tell him any details, and he jumped on board straight away. So, mate, have a look at his store. Everything Bream on that you can think of, he's got.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so here's our big Bream. Here's our kegger for cash. We've got our big Bream, which is Tonic Eyewear. We've got our Monster Mover. So in our 2-day events, if you have a shocker on day one and you're 40th or 50th or 60th or wherever you may be, and then you had a crack in day 2 and you jump up 30 places, the team that jumps up the most places from day 1 to day 2 is going to get a Zip Baits Monster Mover prize pack. So all Japanese made, these lures. There's some cracking colours and sizes in there. So jump on the website, on the Frogley's website, and have a look at the Zip Bait stuff. So that'll be for our Monster Movers for both events, which is Foster and the Basin. And then we're going to have a rod sponsor for the Foster event. So it's going to be Samurai. So they've jumped on board and they're going to be naming sponsors of the Foster event. There's going to be some pretty cool stuff coming out of the Samurai section, that's for sure.
Very good. Sounds like you already got a few sponsors on board, which is great. All rocking and rolling.
Yeah, that's for sure. I was so surprised at the feedback of the sponsors when I told them sort of my idea and concept, and they were more than happy to jump on board. Yeah, I want to try and I have to engage with a few electronic sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get a really good big Bream prize for the grand final. So I'm thinking like a 9 or 12 inch sounder that has sort of live scope capability. So
an amazing prize.
Oh yeah. So live scope, I run it on the boat, I run it on the kayak. On the boat, it's invaluable. The stuff that you learn using a live scope on the boat is amazing. In the kayak, I find it's a little bit more difficult just for the sheer fact that you can't really set yourself in the current. You've got to cast, you've got to move it by your hand. It's a lot of hands-on when you're trying to catch a fish and wind at the same time, but it's still super important, especially if you have a deep bite in the basin or a deep bite in Lake Macquarie. You can literally put that lure on their head and watch them react to it. So it's an invaluable tool in the toolkit of an angler, that's for sure.
Very good, very good. Well, hopefully you'll be able to line that up in one way or another.
Yeah, I'm sure. And we'll definitely thinking around that for a prize for the big win for the grand final, that's for sure.
Perfect. All right, mate. So to wrap up, hopefully we'll get to see some stuff on the Facebook page into the new year. Get the entry forms out there and get this series up and underway. And, mate, we'll be very keen to talk to you, your winners and place getters.
Mate, yep. No, I really appreciate the time today. Yeah, it's been a busy few weeks. I'm lucky I'm coming into school holidays and I've got sort of a few more weeks to plan everything else out.
Very good. Very good. All right, mate. Well, thanks for coming on. And, mate, we will have a chat. Maybe you'll be one of the round winners. Hopefully we'll get to have a chance to see you. Maybe after their first event. How good would that be?
Mate, that'd be really good.
All right, mate.
I'm going to try and employ people and I'm going to try and sort of fish it with a teammate, but it'll just be reduced hours. So it'll be really good.
Fantastic. All right, mate. Well, you have a good night and, mate, we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, mate.
All right. So that's it. New South Wales Tournament Series. That's the first one, the inaugural one. If you're into team series, I suggest you get on it because we want these things to hang around. And the only way they will hang around is if people go and attend. Having said that, I think with the format that Grant's got going on, a couple of different ideas on grand finals, which is pretty cool, I think it's going to be a winner. So I look forward to seeing how that plays and reviewing those competitions as they come up. All right. In other news, like I said in the start, or maybe I didn't, I did a couple of outtakes, so hard to know. Yeah, great time of year to be setting some goals. And this year, one of my daughters gave me a goal-setting plan. I want a little bit kind of old school, something we might have looked at about maybe 20 years ago. I had these and I thought, you know what, I'm going to take the time and sit down and fill this out. Anyway, took a lot longer than I expected, so I've half filled it out. But what I wanted to share with you is I set a goal because, as most of you know, I need to lose a little bit of weight, or quite a lot of weight, really. I set a goal that I would do half an hour's exercise a day. I thought, okay, that's achievable. I'll be able to do that. I can fit it in somewhere in the day. It doesn't matter whether it's yoga or walking or going to the gym or whatever, just dedicated exercise. So I thought, okay, I'll be able to do that. So day 2, I didn't get it done. Anyway, so why do I share it? I guess because it's day 3 and I've done it today. So straight back on the wagon. What happened yesterday is I ended up busy in the back end of the day to a point where it just wasn't practical. And I should have been aware of that, but I didn't pay attention. So a little bit of forward planning. So I guess there's a lot of you guys out there like myself that need to either lose some weight or just get a little bit more active so we can keep doing what we like, whether it's fishing or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Definitely get out there. Hopefully you can be inspired and go. And I'm quite surprised at how much walking did for me. Going back to about October last year, just simple walking for an hour a day or 5Ks as it was made a massive difference. So I just wanted to share that again because I think it's definitely life-changing. If not for me, for somebody out there, this will be the catalyst to get you out there. Put your shoes on, start walking. Just set yourself a goal, whether it's a distance-based goal or a time. I think in the beginning, especially if you're struggling to do or struggling to get motivation, I reckon just set the time and, you don't even focus about walking too hard to start with because that'll come after time. You do it a few times, you'll get fitter, you'll want to walk faster. Anyway, so moving on from that. So one of the things I mentioned in the last episode was the Scott Lovick. So Scott Lovick Hobie Bay boots. So these are boots, they've got a hard boot on the bottom running up to a soft side. Now they are, I reckon they're pretty cool. Now it's summer. Right now I don't really care about getting my feet wet. But I know that as we move into the cooler months, I just love keeping my feet dry. It doesn't matter what Hobie you've got or what kayak you've got. If you can get in over your knees or up to your knees, you probably don't have to get your feet wet. So definitely check those out. Okay, so if you want to have a look at Scott Lovick Hobie, it's slhobie.com.au. So slhobie.com.au. You can jump on there and grab some bay boots through Scott, or you can get them through James as well at HWS. So whichever way you want to go is great, but definitely get in those. I know there's a limited order on those. They will run out and the popular sizes will run out more quickly. So there you go. All right, so let's leave it there and I'll talk to you next week on the Bream Fishing Project.
Thanks for listening. Hopefully you were informed, inspired, and entertained. If you were able to learn something or just enjoyed listening, please consider subscribing and rate us on your favourite podcasting platform.